Prepare yourself, guys. This is Chris again. I'm with Talking Through the Medias, and once again, I am joined with JFS. The review don't care what his name. That's what he always says on his show, right? I still get a kick out of every time you say that. The character Clark Kent, not Superman. The reason why we're doing this is because I was inspired by the guys over there at the YouTube channel from the Movie Burners Entertainment channel, and these guys, they did a video for Bruce Wayne, wasn't it? And they talked about their favorite iteration of that character, and I was like, you know what, guys, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about our favorite Clark Kent. So I want before me and JFS gets into it, I want to show you like a 2-minute clip, maybe 1 or 2 minutes of the MBE channel of their conversation about Bruce Wayne. Now, check this out.
Deep end here, John. Christian Bale for me, just because of the Dark Knight trilogy. I think over those 3 films, particularly Batman Begins, where we got the origins of Bruce Wayne, something we've not seen on the big screen to that extent, training, his reasons, his relationship with the League of Shadows. That's what it was called, wasn't it? So and just the execution of the character. It was fleshed out. I'm in the generation that grew up with obviously the Michael Keaton one, and on Friday night I did say that it would be best, if Michael Keaton had got a third film that probably could delve right into the backstory of Bruce Wayne. We obviously got the murder of his parents in there, and that was his sort of motivation to become Batman. But there wasn't enough for me. I thought Michael Keaton was an excellent Bruce Wayne. I thought he was an excellent Batman as well.
The Adam West ones, it was Adam West, wasn't it? It was campy. It was it was like right out of a comic book. It's ripped straight out of the pages. You're right about Michael Keaton, Tim Burton, what he did with that character. He completely rejuvenated Batman. He took it from that sort of campy with the lycra sort of gear on and whatnot, and he made it a darker, more serious character. And that was necessary for these studio executives back in that point in history, because they weren't interested in superhero movies. Aside from Superman, they were a disaster. I think you went and seen the original Spider-Man movie. It was that's what they were like. It was like Captain America in the early 1990s. They were terrible. So he took it and he made it more serious, and he made it a sort of more trustworthy at the box office as well by hiring people like Jack Nicholson.
That was their opinions on Bruce Wayne. Now, after seeing that, what did you think about that? And before we get into the Clark Kent, did you agree with what they had to say, or do you have a totally different actor in mind when you talk about Bruce Wayne?
In my view, for Bruce Wayne, I didn't mind Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. I didn't mind him playing that role. At least in that version, looked like he just went through hell. He's like already years as being Batman. But I grew up with Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne. I loved how he portrayed as Bruce Wayne, especially when he confronted the Joker for the first time.
It's probably that, but now I'm more towards Ben Affleck. But I might be wrong about that. I might come back to Keaton after I think about it. I think Ben Affleck was definitely the best Batman, but Keaton was probably the best Bruce Wayne. For years, I had myself convinced that George Clooney was the best Bruce Wayne, not the best Batman. But you know what? I would say he looked facially like Bruce Wayne. And then Ben Affleck crushed it with the physicality. So
if only he could move his neck around.
If only it wasn't so commercial and whatnot. But this is a discussion about Clark Kent. Now, we were inspired by MBE to do the same thing in the same vein of this discussion, but with another superhero, part of the trilogy of superheroes, the man himself, Superman, but not just Superman, Kal-El, but not just Kal-El, Clark Kent. This is a discussion of who portrayed Clark Kent the best. Now, I put this poll up on the T3 Media's Twitter account, and I asked, and I will get to that a little later, but some of the choices I put up was obviously Christopher Reeves, and I put Christopher Reeves and Brandon Routh since they technically we're playing the same character. So if you say Christopher, if you're thinking Brandon Routh over Christopher Reeves or Christopher Reeves over Brandon Routh, I'm still kind of bunching them together. So if you're voting for one, you're really voting for the other. But if you have a difference of opinion, just let us know. The other choice was I had Henry Cavill in there. I actually had Tom Welling in there and Dean Cain. And then I got yelled at by Robert Meyer Burnett and was like, how could you not include, George Reeves in there? So I mentioned, just you can write in whoever your favorite is. I'm talking about anybody who's played Superboy in the TV shows, not really voice actors, but just physically on screen, like the current Superman that we have today and the Supergirl series. So with that out the way,
I gotta say, I really like Brandon Routh as Superman, as Clark Kent, and also Superman, mostly because the first Superman movie I ever watched, and it was Superman Returns, and right. I did like his performance in the movie, and it reminded me a lot of the original Superman movie from years ago, the 70s one.
Right, with Christopher Reeve, right.
Yeah, so I thought he did a good job trying to portray that same role as from the original film. I love how he was trying to portray that same character, even though, of course, age differences, I'm not going to get into that, but I did like his performance. But then I saw Henry Cavill's performance, and I actually liked it a little better. Just a little bit more, mostly because I like how his character, he's trying to figure out who he is, where does he fit in this world, because he isn't sure where he fits in, because he knows he's not human. He knows that he can't reveal his secrets of the world, right? And he's just trying to figure out where he fits in all this. And I love that he's conflicted. He's trying to help people, but he's all at the same time unsure if they'll accept him or not.
Right.
So I kind of like both the performances, but I think I like Henry's a little bit more.
So you're leaning towards Henry Cavill overall. Were you? And you said you did see like the original Superman movie, like with Christopher Reeves, and
that would have to be after Superman Returns. And after I saw it, I liked the first two. Wasn't a big fan of 3 and 4.
Right. What about any of the other TV shows from the past in like the 90s and whatnot? Did you ever catch any of those old ones or anything like that, or based on what you just the Superman Returns and the Henry Cavill's and then the Christopher Reeves is the only
other than the animated series? I did see Smallville, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was a lot different than what I was expecting. I did see Lois and Clark. But I only saw maybe a few episodes. Then again, I was young back then, so that didn't really keep my interest a lot. But I did like the versions we got with from the Supergirl series. I did like those versions. So especially, I love how they during the whole Crisis crossovers they did. I love the fact they brought back Brandon for the show. So I was very glad for that. So I don't mind which version is the best, but in my view, I thought Henry did a great job. But then again, everyone has their own different opinion. Yeah. So
I would say Henry Cavill's version of Clark Kent was the most human, most tortured. He was the fear. They never really touched on how scary these powers when they start activating. I guess when he started getting to a certain age and these powers start kicking in, they always showed things in like in the comic books and the cartoon, like, oh wow, I can see through walls now. Oh wow, I'm stronger than my dad. I guess he's never gonna ground me again. But they never really get into address what it would really do to like that movie. What was that horror movie that was kind of loosely based on the story of Clark Kent? Something Brightburn. Yes. And they even touched into it a little bit more. I don't think we would have gotten Brightburn if it wasn't for what Henry Cavill's portrayal of it was, because they really dove into it. Like when he started seeing through walls and x-raying people, he thought there was something wrong with him, and he got scared. He didn't want it. He didn't ask for it. He thought that he would be treated like a freak, and his father was definitely afraid of it. So Henry Cavill's, or not really Henry Cavill's, but the little boy, I guess, that version of Clark Kent, that was great. And Henry Cavill's version of Clark Kent was as an adult was good too. I thought that it was funny how this was supposed to be more like a realistic version of it, just like with bells and whatnot. If this DCEU version was more realistic, I was like, well, then we were all thinking, and how are you going to pull off the whole glasses thing? And they just, you know what, they were like, we're just going to do it. And hey, you know what, we're not going to address it. Yeah, no one would be fooled by this. Lex Luthor wasn't fooled by it, but we're just gonna go through it. Hold on. Hold on one second. Yeah, it froze again, but don't worry. I'll pick it up from where it is. We're good now.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna go with it. But I did grow up with those older movies. Obviously, I was Superman came out like just before I was born, but Superman 2 and whatnot, and 3 and the Quest for Peace and whatnot, they were coming out when I was getting to an age of really enjoying like action movies and whatnot. And then it was I didn't think about it, but Christopher Reeves as Clark Kent, he did a great job as far as playing that version of a human, what a godlike creature would think of us as people. Like, people always don't talk about it that much, but if you think about it, Clark Kent is pretty much kind of how Superman kind of sees us: weak and bumbling and kind of clumsy. Like, that's what everything that Clark does, that he kind of stumbles his words, or he stutters, or he trips over things a lot. That's, in a way, it's kind of like how Superman sees us as people. We're weak and fragile. And I think Christopher Reeves did a great job at capturing that. And then I grew up in watching the Adventures of Lois and Clark. I loved that show. As a kid, I watched it all. I don't remember it. I remember seeing like every episode maybe one time and moving on. This was before DVRs and whatnot. But I remember liking the show a lot and being invested in it as a kid. But then when it was over. I didn't care much about it and didn't look back. And then Smallville came out. And that was when I had my oh my God freak out moment and everything. So I was a part of that crew of kids who were like, why don't they just get Tom Welling to play Brandon Routh? This is before I really understood about separating the TV show from the movie and whatnot. Yeah. But when Henry Cavill came through and played, and like I said, Brandon Routh did a great job of also capturing what I felt like what Christopher Reeves already did. So that's why I linked the two together. So when I'm saying Brandon Routh did a great job, I'm saying he did a great job at mimicking what Christopher Reeves did. But after a while, it became his own, and Clark became his, and that became evident when we saw him in The Crisis. But Cavill overall, even though I said what I've already said about Cavill, and I love Cavill, he's my favorite Superman. But my favorite Clark is Tom Welling. Is my reason is because Tom Welling played him longer than anybody ever has or probably ever will combined.
That's true.
You can add up George Reeves, that from that Superman TV show, all the movies and all that, and you could put all the time together, and it probably won't even come up to half of the amount of screen time of Tom Welling playing, just because he was never ever Superman from beginning of every episode to the end of every episode. Like, if you count up that 40 minutes for 10 years for all those seasons, he has put up more hours than anybody. So Clark, he did something with that character that no one ever has, and I don't think no one ever will. I think that show touched on a lot of things that, like, Henry Cavill's Superman did, even though I think Henry Cavill did a phenomenal, way better job. But Tom Welling's Clark did touch on these scary things a little bit too, and the bumbling, stumbling things that Christopher Reeves did as well. Tom's Superman, Clark Kent, covered a lot of these things, and I've yet to, if Henry Cavill can get a Man of Steel 2 or and whatnot, maybe then I'll be convinced to change my allegiance. But I'm still Team Tom, only because the fact that he's been Clark Kent longer. Smallville wasn't a Superman show. That was the Clark Kent show. So if you want to ask me who the quintessential Clark Kent is, it begins and ends to me with the man who's played him longer than anyone. So that's my choice. But
well, that's the advantage of having a TV show, is the fact you can take this character and able to, build them up, build their character up, get the fans, behind this character. And you're right. I mean, from the beginning to the middle, always the end, it was Clark. It wasn't Superman. He didn't have the costume on. It was himself. And you're right. He that's actually, I think, without question, I think everything you just said is pretty much spot on. He definitely was able to show everybody that he is the best Clark out there. He had a great advantage, though. Again, it was mostly because of the TV series. Now, as far as TV series, Tom definitely is the best one. But as far as movies is concerned, who would you say is like the better Superman as far as movies version?
It would probably be Henry Cavill. It would be Henry Cavill, definitely. For years, it was Superman. I'm sorry, it was Superman. It was Christopher Reeves. Let's put the voice actors in there too. Who is your favorite Clark Kent? Just put it in the box below. Let us know what you guys think of. Hey, I might actually talk about it on my next episode of We Got Your Mail. But I'm Chris. We're talking through the medias. Hey, this is JFS, the reviewer. Let them all know where they can find you, brother.
You guys can find me on Twitter. You guys can find me on Facebook as well. And you can also find me on my YouTube channel as well.
Awesome. All right, guys. We're out of here. Until next time, guys. Peace.
I've just been invited to Sundance. I've been doing movie reviews for a while now on YouTube and on blog. For the past couple of years, all I do is I talk movies, talking through the media. We were invited.